Thanks for joining me. Today we're privileged. I have a friend of mine on the line here on and recording it in Zoom. I know her testimony and it's very inspiring. So I wanted to record this just so everyone else has the opportunity to learn and to hear directly from Frankie. Frankie, how you doing?
Hi, I'm doing great.
Okay, good.
I'm doing great,
All right.
actually.
Thanks for spending the time today. And I know people will get a lot out of this. So tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, I grew up on the west side of Chicago, Austin community, and Lawndale. So mom's side is from Lawndale, dad's side is from Austin. So I was kind of back and forth between both communities. And if you know anything about the communities, they're, not the best communities to be in. So growing up for me, I witnessed a lot of gun violence, you know, growing up poverty, like it wasn't good. So my grandmother, she actually raised me. Growing up in her household, it was a full house. Everybody lived there. So she did what she had to do to feed all of us. So when I got to high school, and it was time for me to decide whether or not I wanted to go off to school or did I want to stay and work a job. I remember that day. I was in the office with my counselor and she said, okay, so we have to pick a major. We have to we have to decide, what do you want to be? And she said, so what do you want to do? I said, I don't know. I don't know. All I know is music because I went to a performing arts high school. And, she's like, okay, do you want to major in, political science? Do you want to, and I'm like, all this, it was just, she was speaking French to me. So I was just like, well, I don't know. All I knew was music. So she was like, okay, cool. You can be a music major, whatever. I wasn't really a straight A student. So, I was barely by the 2.0 grade point average. And, I barely got into college. So first she recommended that I I take a year off and go work a job and then decide what I wanted to do and figure out what I wanted to do. And I said, no, you don't know where I come from. I got to get out of here. So I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I know I had to go. So I ended up going to Southern Illinois University in Carbondale. I was undecided, but I was taking music courses, whatever. And then I decided I didn't want to do music anymore. I changed my major to kinesiology. And after that, I changed it to social work. And after that, I said, you know what? I'm not changing it anymore. I'm just going to stay here because I'm not trying to, stay here any longer and pay them more money. And then it got to the point where, I started deciding, okay, do I go to get my master's? Do I go to do? So I had this whole plan of going get my master's, going, whatever, continue my education. But something in me, it didn't feel right. So, I just started praying and I started, asking, God to lead me because I didn't know, like, I know nothing, for only he knows the plans that he has for me. So I said, I'm just going to shut up and let you drive and, guide me. So a friend of mine left some books underneath my table in my apartment. And of course, it was a bunch of Robert Kiyosaki books. And I picked it up and I just started reading and everything, kind of clicked after that. Like, oh my gosh, yes. So real estate, after that, I started, being obsessed with, researching real estate and everything like that. And this was my junior year. So reading those books, I found out the truth about the education system, what possibilities that I have instead of, working a 9 to 5 and everything like that. So I said, okay, cool. I want to do this. And once I figured out I didn't need to go to college to be a real estate investor, I was just like, okay, cool. I'm just going to graduate and go. So after college, I ended up coming back home. Already I was looking for a real estate community, a community to be a part of. And I went to different gurus and everything like that. And it just wasn't a genuine, atmosphere. I felt like they were trying to sell me like, hey, look at my plane. Here you go. No, and I didn't feel very welcomed, And so still searching, until a friend of mine told me, hey, do you know about Renatus? And I said, no, I didn't know. Came to a meeting, and after that, I was just like, oh my gosh, thank you for, leading me here. And since I've been in this community, it's just been like awesome. I have so much support. I'm learning things that I feel like I wouldn't, learn in any other real estate community. And just thus far, the experience for me has just been very welcoming and educating.
Yeah. You mentioned about the support, but I want to tell you, you've given people support, because I was on a conference call, it was about a week ago, and you told your story, and they were probably, usually there's like 50 to 100 people sometimes on those calls. And after you told their story, I mean, they were in tears, they were choked up, they were inspired. So, that giving back has already happened already. You've already been a blessing to the group already. And I know you shared something there about, I believe it was your niece that was having a trouble. I know it's an emotional time for you, but do you mind kind of telling us a little bit about that story and about, what happened to your grandmother and your niece, and how basically you were able to help your niece?
Okay. So definitely. So going back just, back to the beginning a little bit. My grandmother, she was everything to everybody. She was so giving, so loving, and just an amazing woman, a woman of God. She was so she was faithful to him until the end. And losing her was very, very, very hard on everybody in our family, because it's like she was the backbone. But when I was a young girl, 25 by the way, but when I was younger, I would be with her a lot. It's like I stayed by her side, and she was an entrepreneur. And I mentioned on the call that kids, when you go and they ask you what do you want to be? Sometimes that stems around, looking at your parents and, what they are. So for example, if you're in medicine and your wife is a nurse, more than likely that kid is going to be somewhere in the field of medicine, you know what I mean? Because they grew up around that. Well, I was a little different. My grandmother was an entrepreneur. She wasn't, a rich entrepreneur, but she used her gifts and created, she made baskets for all the holidays, and I would go with her and I would help her sell them. So all the while she was teaching me these things. She was teaching me sales. She was teaching me negotiation. It was so funny story. I remember one time she put a $300 sticker on her basket, and I was just like, nothing in this basket is what? Granny, I don't think you're going to sell this. She said, watch me. And she did. And she taught me about profit and negotiation, all these things, and instilling these things in me as a young child. And I didn't even know what it meant, at the time. So she was also a licensed cosmetologist. You know, she would go and she would sell her baskets, but then she would come back on the weekends and she had her clients. So she did hair out of her basement. So she had her business set up, and I grew up around that. So I knew being an entrepreneur was for me. Um,
Yeah.
when she died, everything kind of came together, and all her teachings and all her lessons that she, told me, even just about prayer, you know what I mean? And how that changes things. It just, everything hit me all at once. And like I said, it's been very hard on our family. Um, and one day, last week, my sister came to me. She cried, and I'm thinking she's, crying about, our grandmother, because she raised her as well. She told me she took my niece's phone away from her, and she found messages saying, like, I feel like I'm better off not here. I don't want to be here anymore. And, just, things of that. And I want to let you know, like, well, we all know the tough time that this whole world is going through. Kids nowadays, they're not getting the experience that, you know, we had, you know what I mean, because of COVID. And so they're always in the house. They're not getting, enough fresh air. They're not getting the
Yeah.
genuine connection with other people. And God knows, like, with the social media influence and everything like that, with the music, it's really getting into their minds. So of course, you know, being a child and witnessing all of this, and then on top of that, somebody who you really care about, passes away, and you don't really know how to process that as a kid and 13 years old. It could be very tough. So she says that, Sanai, my niece, she's texting saying, I don't want to be here. I don't want, I think it's better me not being here. And that just kind of hit me like really hard. So I said, it's okay. I know what to do. Um, every day this past week, I've been going over to her house. I've been sitting with her. I've been doing, exercises with her, just talking to her, like, what makes you happy? What are these things that, bring you joy? What do you dream about? These things. And I started her off like that. But I also had a conversation with her, and I let her know that we all love you, and, don't ever feel like, you're not loved. And so she is actually very talented in doing hair, and she gets that from my grandmother. And I told her, like, she, even though she's not here, she gave us all gifts.
Yeah.
And you have that gift from her. So I took out my laptop and I opened up Helios, which is Rena's. And I show her, like, this is what your auntie is learning. All of these things that I'm learning, it's going to help me generate wealth, and it's going to help our family. It's going to help, all these things. And I said, do you know that, if you put, this amount of money away right now and everything like that, do you know you'll have $1 million by this time? And she's, $1 million? Like, wait, what are you talking about? I had to speak to her in terms of money, because they only know money, they don't know they don't know the things behind it yet, because she's still 13. But I just told, like, I helped her realize the possibilities that she had. And if I didn't have Renatus and educating her and knowing what to say, this I will only have her love and giving her love, and I still do. But if I wasn't educated, or didn't have the knowledge on what to say, then I would yeah. So She does hair, and she has had, family clientele and other clientels as well, young girls. So she's made, a decent amount of it for her to be 13. And so I said, this is what we're going to do. We're going to set your business up. We're going to, set your website up. And, every day I sit with her and I work on her. I work on her, of course, with her mentality, but also like setting up her business, and her face lit up, like she just instantly joy. So I'm also actually a member from the community helped me find a person that makes flyers and everything. So we're going to get her flyers made and, posted around the community. I'm going to go with her, of course, and, teach her how to respectfully ask, like, hey, I'm a young entrepreneur, do you mind if I, market here or put my flyer up? So she's very excited about that. And, if I didn't have this education, God knows.
Yeah, I'm sure when you first got started, it was about you and it helping your life. But see already how you've been able to pass that forward, and that you're having an impact on your niece's life. And we don't know. I mean, the impact that that's going to have. And the example, just like you said about, your grandma, and we call it, I don't know, you're maybe too young to remember this, but Karate Kid was a classic movie back in the,
Mhm.
80s. You
Wash on, wash
Right,
off.
exactly. You Mr. Miyagi, she Mr. Miyagi you, right? She was
Yes,
teaching you stuff like the wax on, wax off without you
yes,
knowing you were being taught that type of thing. And
exactly.
and you learned it and you appreciated it. And she really did show you what was possible as an entrepreneur. And then you took that to the next step. You put some formal education around that, some entrepreneurial education, some marketing education, some real estate investing education around that, giving it more structure and able to pass that on, now to your niece. And now she sees you. I'm sure you're inspiring her by what you're doing. And you know what? We don't always have to have already made the $1 million to inspire people. The journey is what's inspiring. The fact that, you can work odd jobs and people working at the end. I forget what entrepreneur I heard interviewed, but they asked him the question: when did you become successful? When did you, he was a multi, millionaire, maybe a billionaire. When did you become successful? And this was his answer: I've always been successful. My success was when I was dead broke and my lights were being turned off, but I was still working hard to pursue my dreams. That's when I was successful. It's not after I already made
Mhm,
all the money. That's what the success was. That's when really I
mhm,
was at my best. And we've got to remember that we're always, measuring ourselves against somebody else or thinking
yes,
that about the end journey. The end journey is the end of life, right? I mean, that's over, right? It's the
exactly.
journey. It's on the way there that is really our success and what inspires people. So I just want to commend you. And it was so very touching to hear the story, to hear about your grandmother, to hear about your niece and how you've had an impact on her already. And she sees that possibilities without a doubt. And you're exactly right. It kind of what we see. It doesn't necessarily, oh, we're only going to do that career. But I remember as a kid growing up, and the only thing I really wanted to do, first of all, I wanted to be a pro athlete. That was number one. But that was not going to happen, whether it was football, basketball. Was my role models were coaches, teachers, and coaches were my role
Yes,
models. And so when
yes,
I was in pursuing college, I mean, that was what I wanted to be, was a teacher and coach, because the people that I knew, even though they weren't family, they were really the adults that I admired were teachers and coaches. Just like use the example, if they would have been nurses and doctors, I probably would be, pursuing a medical career. Um,
hmm,
but we can do those things and we can influence our family. It doesn't just have to be our children, but our nieces and our nephews and our, cousins and whatever, to see that possibility. And a lot of times it only takes one breaking through in that generation that other people point to and say, look, she did it. If she can do it, I know it's possible. I know it's possible that I can do it. Or even, like I say, even if you haven't arrived at where you want to be, it's like she's pursuing it. She's doing it. She's not
exactly.
taking no for an answer. She's putting the work in to achieve what she wants to achieve. So that's just very
Yeah.
exciting. And your story is very inspiring. I did want to record it and let other people benefit from that. Yeah.
No, no, definitely. Like any chance that I can help anybody overcome, anything, any obstacle, that's a win for me. That's that I would rather have that than to have $1 million, honestly, just to help someone else. And honestly, like, like you said something like to the end, when we're in the grave and just being here, in my surroundings and looking around, it gives me more power because, you know, uh, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention, I'm actually at the cemetery visiting my grandmother right now, as I'm speaking to you. And honestly, it's just what I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet. He's not through with me yet. And I feel like, we as humans, we sometimes take life for granted. And I always say this, you don't know when and you don't know how, but you know it's gonna happen. So what do you have to do right now before you get to that place? And don't waste any time, don't waste a second on negativity or things in your life that's not benefiting you and getting to where you need to be in the future, as far as success. So I love that you said that. And honestly, my little cousins and my nieces and nephew, like, they already look up to me, even though I'm not, you know a billionaire yet.
Yeah.
They already look up to me. They see, oh yeah, I want to go off to school now. I'm in a sorority. I want to join a sorority. I see how you carry yourself. I see how, you get dressed and you carry yourself, you know, very well. And they see that. And like I said, like, we're still in that community. So your surroundings and what you see, it could really, poison your mind if it's not good. So as long as you have that one person, that positive person that you can say, I want to be like her.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I honestly feel like I said this before, but I feel like God chose me. He chose me, um, the person in my family, to change, the course of our generation,
Yeah. Yeah.
because of the way I think and the way, like, I respond to certain things. Like, trust me, I grew up, they never understood me. Nobody ever understood me, but, you know, I just think differently. And, now, my mother sees that and she says, like, yes, I was always the independent, person. Like, I never wanted anybody to do anything for me. Like, I can do it myself. I can do it myself. Like, I want to do it myself, because how would I ever learn if I don't do it myself? And they just, like, stubborn. They're like, let us do it for you. No, I need to do it myself because I need to learn. I'm a kinesthetic learner, so I have to do it in order for me to learn it. You tell me what to do and I'll do it, you know, and even just having that mindset could take you a very long way if you just do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that focus and kind of how you had mentioned it before about, helping others is so important. And about at the end of your journey, we talked about at the end of your life, you don't know when that's going to be. But I love the motto to live your life for something that outlasts it. I mean, think about
Mhm.
it. That's what your grandma did. I mean, you're already showing evidence that her impact has outlasted her life. Her life ended, but her impact has not. She lived her life for something. If she was a selfish person, if she was all to herself, she wouldn't have had that impact. She would have passed away, and a couple people would have showed up at her funeral, and that's about it. But the legacy that she has in you and your rest of your family, that's living your
Mhm.
life for something that outlasts it. And it's really, really important for us to understand that we have finite years in this life. And a lot of, and you know what, to be honest with you, you're happier when you're focused on every other people. Just like I'm sure it's probably therapeutic when you were helping your niece get over the grief of the loss of your grandmother, helping and focusing on other people, focusing on her, that's really kind of therapy for yourself. It's almost a gift to yourself when you focus on others. I know when I get depressed, when I get, stressed about something, I catch myself. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm thinking all about me. You know what I mean? This is, I've caught myself thinking about myself. If I start to think about others, start to help others, and the focus shifts to them, then it's a whole different attitude change, right? And I think a lot of people, we're kind of in this me generation. Everything's about me, me, me. I think a lot of the mental health issues that we're having is because of that mindset. If we think about how can we give to others, what can I do for others? It's pretty tough being depressed when you're helping somebody else. I mean, it's hard. It's hard because your focus is on them and about doing good for them. And it makes you feel good. And it takes, I think relieves a lot of that stress. So
No, definitely does. It's funny you said that, like, just being there, helping her. I had to take my grief and kind of like, put it in the back of my head for right now. But then I also had to say, okay, what would my grandmother do? She already taught it to me. So what would she have done? And so me taking my hand and just taking her by the hand and leading her and guiding her, I know that my grandmother's spirit she's guiding me as well. And so I'm sorry.
Okay.
All her teachings and her lessons, I know that they won't go to waste.
Yeah.
Just even at her funeral, I had people coming up to me and my family and saying, you have her anointing, you have her spirit, you have, this, you look just like her. And I'm just like, okay, well, I guess she's my twin now. So she passed me the torch. She passed me and my sister the torch. So now we have to carry that on, and it's very important that I do, because what I do is going to impact their lives. Well, who's to say that they won't impact millions?
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, raising a child, there's no rule book to parenting, you know what I mean? But if you can take your child, talk to them, have a conversation with them, like our children is very important, you know what I mean? And if you don't, take control of, their mental well-being and everything like that, it can get out of control. It'll be like the world is raising them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, love that you said that. I'm sorry, I almost teared up.
That's okay. Listen, thanks so much for your time. I don't know if there's anything else you want to add to that, but certainly I appreciate spending time with me, and I'm sure sharing this on my YouTube channel, and I'll give you a copy of it. Anybody that you want to share with and inspire, that would be great. That's what we're all about, passing it on and helping others. Anything else in closing that you'd like to add?
No, I just want to say next time I come on your channel and I speak, it'll be about my property.
I look forward to that.
It'll be different. It will be very much different. You're going to see my growth. And I'm saying that, because now I have to do it.
Yeah. Well, this is celebrating your journey. So we celebrate your journey with you together, and be proud of that. Be proud of what you've done so far and the impact you've already had. So I appreciate it.
Yes, I'm always proud of it. Thank you so much, Randy.
Okay. You take care. All right.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.